Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's resume our 2022 Complete Beginner's Guide to Slay the Spire with the Ironclad. We are in Act 2, and we're fighting one of the tougher hallway fights. We got Navocado, otherwise known as the Shelled Parasite, and the Fungi Beast. Now, unfortunately, in this situation, when you get a pairing like this, and you ever have this guy who's been reanimated by fungus, what happens is when he dies, he applies 2 vulnerable. So you want to take him down because he's weak, and he will attack you, and he's buffing himself up to make himself even stronger. But you don't want to attack him because then he makes you vulnerable, so you take a ton of damage. So this guy, instead of doing 10, will actually hit us for 15. But guess what? We don't have much choice here. We need to take it all down. So let's think about our game plan. I'm going to be offering 100%. All right? And in pretty much all card games that you play, you want to, if you plan on doing card draw, do that first before you do anything else, so that you can see all of the options that you have. You don't want to like spend your energy and then do card draw and then see like, oh darn, I drew something that's really good, but I don't have enough energy for it anymore. You want to do your card draw first. So we're going to go ahead and offering to get ourselves our enormous hand of cards. And sweet fancy Moses, look what we get here. I am pretty confident that we can kill the shelled parasite this turn with what we've got. With Impervious, Body Slam, and Bludgeon. I mean, that's only 5 energy right there. And maybe if we, like, shrug it off or something like that. This guy has what? He has 11 armor plus 68 health, so he's looking at 79 damage that we need to do. This is 42, 31, it's 72. So if we just basically, or 73 rather, if we just shrug it off, then we kill this guy. And I think that's the best play that we've got, because what it means is we will kill this dude outright, and then this guy will be left, right? And we won't have to worry about being vulnerable against him because we can kill this guy very, very quickly, all right? Now, one thing to consider in a spot like this is I have 3 potions, okay? There is a possibility that after defeating this battle, I get another potion and I won't have a place to put it. Now, if that happens, whenever you get a potion, you can choose to discard a potion and take the potion in its place if you want, and that's totally fine. But if you're like, you know what, I might as well just use one of these potions and then get a new potion, you could do it that way. But we're not guaranteed to get one, and it's not always the best play, but it is something to think about. Like, well, you know, I don't want to waste a potion, so I might as well use one. What I like to do with that decision making is lean towards using the potion if I was thinking about using it already. Like, it'll nudge me over the edge of the decision, but I'm not going to just willy-nilly use a potion because I'm desperate to clear up a slot. I'd much rather have the potions and then keep them for when I need them than just, you know, superfluously jamming them. Alright, so I'm going to Impervious and hit them. And that actually does 3 more damage to the calculation. And then let me... We're not going to take any damage, right? So we just hit this guy with Bludgeon, and he's got 34 health, okay? And so if I blast him with Body Slam, he's going to go down to 3. And what I could do is just play Rampage, actually, and then power it up so that when I draw it, you know, we've got even more. But what I could also do is Headbutt Body Slam to make sure I draw Body Slam next turn. But that's not a guarantee that it's going to be good. Like, do I have any big block cards? Actually, I do. I have a ton of big block cards left. I've got Ghostly Armor, Metallicize, armaments. Well, Metallicize doesn't really work with Body Slam, but if I drew like a ghostly armor or two, it would be insane. So one line would be to headbutt, or I'm sorry, we have to Body Slam first, and then headbutt, and then send back the Body Slam. Okay? Actually, what am I talking about? I'm like making this way too complicated. No, the line is Body Slam, headbutt, and then bring back bludgeon, and we kill this guy guaranteed next turn. Yes, yes, yes. Let's be consistent. I'm like overcomplicating it, trying to finesse Body Slam into this somehow. All right, so we'll just Body Slam this guy in the face. He's got 3 health. We'll headbutt. Can I have bludgeon back because it's ridiculous? And he's there. The game's like, sure, you've got headbutt, take it, and we guarantee that we draw it. He boosted his strength. He now wants to do 9 damage to us, and we say, here. And we heal back up. And as I talked about, look, we got a potion. I'm going to just take the gold. So we can't really take this potion, but luckily, in some ways, we already have it. So we don't need it, and there's no way I'm dropping a block potion. If we're talking about evaluating potions, this is a science, much like the rest of the game. But for me, purposely, for my purposes right here anyway, block potion is a potion I love. I value it very highly. 12 block for no energy can save you on one of those turns where you just don't draw a block card. Like, you just completely brick your hand for the turn. This can bail you out. Flex potion is nifty. It gives you 5 strength for 1 turn, but it's not great. It's really not it's not a potion I value super highly unless I have like a clockwork souvenir or something that would prevent the debuff from sticking to me that makes me lose 5 strength. If you have an artifact charge on and you drink a flex potion, you get 5 strength, but then what happens is the potion applies a debuff that basically makes it so you will lose 5 strength at the end of the turn. But if you have an artifact charge up which negates a debuff, you will not get that debuff, and then it's just you get 5 strength for the whole fight. Then this becomes really, really good. But I don't have that. I don't reliably have a way to do that. So it's just some extra damage, and you see me, you know, like, yeah, it'll boost up a couple of attacks, but I'm mostly just bludgeoning, you know, and so 5 extra damage on my one big attack isn't that great. But I'm not going to, you know, get rid of my block potion, and I'm certainly not getting rid of Entropic Brew, which is a fabulous potion because it's guaranteed to be other potions, you know, so beautiful. So we'll just skip this one and take the card. Now, look, we have some really cool choices here. We have Disarm Plus, we have Cleave Plus, and we have Rage. Rage we're not taking at all, under no circumstances. We don't have enough quick attacks to make this valuable to us, where we're getting good block. Cleave Plus is just really good. I mean, this is 11 damage to everyone for 1 energy. What you always like to do when you're evaluating cards, like one path you can take on this is to compare it to a basic strike if it's an attack card, or a basic defend if it's a defense card. And just say, okay, those are like the C-level average cards, all right? How good is a Cleave Plus compared to a Strike? Even compared to a Strike Plus, Cleave Plus already does more damage and can potentially hit more than 1 target if there are more than 1 targets available, right? So, I mean, it's just better. Strikes and defends, I say that they're average, right? Because, like, when you start out, they're average. They do a fine job. But by the end of the game, they become bad. And your object is to try to get rid of them and upgrade your deck with stronger versions of the same thing. If possible, all right? You're not always going to be able to do that. And there's nothing wrong with like an upgraded strike or an upgraded defend. They're fine, right? But they're just not as good as some of the cards that you'll see, like, for example, Cleave Plus. But when we think about AoE, remember, what do we have that does AoE? We have Shockwave, which doesn't do damage, but it does help in a situation with a lot of things. And we have our Ashes, right? So that's kind of where our AoE is coming in. And in all honesty, as powerful as Cleave Plus is, and it's insane, this is a great card, all right? Disarm Plus is a card that I really, really like. Disarm Plus means that the enemy loses 3 strength, okay? So for the rest of the fight, every attack that they do is just -3, right? And especially if the enemy is trying to do multi-attacks, oh, this becomes devastating. And because it exhausts, it triggers our Ashes. So it's doing 3 damage and taking away their strength. Now let's look at the boss that we're going to fight. We're going to fight the Champ, all right? So the Champ is a boss that this is a good card on to limit his strength. But halfway through the fight, once we've done half of his health, he's going to kind of purge himself of debuffs and make himself like ridiculously strong. So we can either save it and play it after that moment, or just play it up front and know that it's going to go away. So it's not as good against the Champ, but it is still good. And AoE is not really good against the Champ. And here we are right here, and on our path, we're only going to fight one more elite, right? And we've already taken down a singular elite. So we could get on this floor. We could, I mean, well, actually, because of what we did see, we did the Book of Stabbing. We're going to see the Slavers or the Gremlin. So because of that, AoE is actually good here. Oh, but so is Disarm. Let me look at myself again. How much consistent... God, I've just got Bludgeon Plus, though, you know. And I've got this for both of those fights. I'm going to take Disarm Plus, but this is like a coin toss for me. These are both really useful right now. I just love this for elite fights and for bosses. It's so good. All right, so we'll skip that. And you'll see. And we're going to go over here. I feel like I have plenty of damage. Ooh, we got a chest. Take it. And our Matryoshka kicks in, right? And this is not a surprise, by the way. We knew. But we get the Eternal Feather, which is just so good for us. So we already, we took the Coffee Dripper, which means we can't rest at rest sites. But now, combined with our meal ticket and our Burning Blood, this gives us ridiculous sustain. We're healing all the time now. So this almost doesn't even count against us at all at this point, given the relics that we've gotten. So every time we go into a rest site, a campfire, basically, for every 5 cards that we have, we heal 3 hit points. So right now, we have 22 cards. So, that means that we're healing for just 12 every time we go into a campfire. And we're down only 1 hit point. So that's awesome. Now, the Juzu Bracelet is an interesting one for us, because what this means is now on the map, every time we go to a question mark, we're guaranteed that it can't be a fight. So remember, an unknown question mark could be, it could be a merchant, it could be a treasure chest, it could be an enemy, okay? It cannot be an elite, and it cannot be a campfire, or it could be an event. But it could be a fight, but now it can't. So now we feel like we're probably only getting good stuff from unknowns, or at the very least, an event that is maybe not favorable. But what's nice about that is, in a game when you're struggling to stay alive, if you get the Juzu Bracelet, like, it's safer for me to take question marks. Like, I can get through without taking a bunch of damage, unless you get the wheel and you spin the damage. But for the most part, you're probably okay. I'm going to return, and we're going to take this. And that's great. These are not the best. Like, this is really, really good for healing. This character really didn't need this, but okay. You know, you take what you get. We're finding a snake plant again, which we've already done. And it's time to see how badly we can wreck this guy, so let's offering. Disarm is really good against this jerk. Okay. So, let's see. How do we want to play this? We didn't really draw great cards. We definitely want to metallicize plus. We definitely want to disarm the guy. I'm going to strike plus him. I think I'll ghostly armor and headbutt the ghostly armor just to guarantee block. And then we can strike him for minimal damage. And he's going to hit us with a powerful negative effect. When you see the big purple swirlies, you know you're about to be blasted by something really, really bad. And that's unfortunate. Enter. Yeah, so his powerful effect debuffed he put frail and weaken on us, which is like we block worse and we attack worse. So that's awful. But we can do the same thing to him with our shockwave. And look at him. Look at this poor guy. His strength is -3, so he wanted to do 21 damage to us, and now he's doing 12. And if we do this and we stack that on top, you start to almost feel bad for the guy. I don't, though, but you could. Now, do we want a shockwave, though? I don't have lethal with bludgeon because we've been weakened, so let's just definitely shockwave him. And now he's only doing 9 damage, and our ghostly armor plus our metallicize will block for full. But let's go ahead and pop him with Pommel Strike and see what we draw, okay? This is interesting. I'm actually going to play Shrug It Off then instead of Ghostly Armor, because what will happen is Ghostly Armor will just fall away and he'll take... His block will get hit for 3, basically. And we'll get to see another card. Is there a card that we want right here? Actually, no, I don't want to draw any cards. I don't want to draw this and not have any energy to play it. So, instead then, I'll just play my Ghostly Armor and we'll, you know, take no damage. And he's going to be vulnerable. Alright, he tried to bite us. Now he wants to do some more debuffs to us, but we're just like, yeah, right. We get to do some really fun stuff ourselves. Alright, so we Armaments Plus, and we just upgraded all the cards in our hand. And let's see, you got 42 health. I'm going to Ghostly Armor Plus. And Bash just to extend his vulnerability, and then smack him with Body Slam. And he's almost dead. And he's just going to extend the debuffs that we have. And now he wants to try to hit us for 9. And we say, you know, whatever. Take this. And this. And now he has 9 health. Letting this fall away doesn't get through his block, so I'll just play it. Save it if I need it. He has 5 hit points, so he should die to whatever we do at this point. Yep. Goodbye. Okay, heal up. Now, interesting. We get a weak potion. A weak potion is actually pretty good. We do have Shockwave, so it's like less good, but I'm going to get rid of this Flex Potion and pick up the weak potion and then add a card to our deck. And is there anything we want from this selection? So Pommel Strike we already have, and this is unupgraded, so no thank you. This is Perfected Strike. Perfected Strike is a trap card. It can be very strong. So basically what this says is it deals 6 damage, and it deals 2 damage, 2 additional damage for all the cards that we have in our deck containing the word strike. So right now, for example, we have 3 strikes, plus we have a Pommel Strike, alright? So we have 4 strikes, and then Perfected Strike counts itself. So what that means is we'd be doing 6 damage plus 10, 16 damage for 2, which is okay, but we have a Bludgeon Plus, so we're kind of like, meh. But the thing about this card is, at early difficulty levels, right? So the difficulty level we're at now, for example, it can be very tempting to play this and just try to stack up strikes. Like, oh, I'll just take everything that says strike, and then I got this, and it does a bunch of damage. That is true, and early on the difficulties, you can win that way. But this quickly becomes not good as you get into harder difficulties. That being said, it's still a card with the Ironclad that I will take very, very early in the run, 1 copy of, if I'm desperate for a damage card. Remember, Act 1 is a DPS check, and if you're not getting damage cards offered and you see this, you might have to take it and just be like, alright, fine, it does fine damage. But the trick with Perfected Strike, at least for me, is once you get into harder difficulties and you and even as a best practice, don't try to build your deck around this. Don't just try to take everything to like go wombo combo with Perfected Strike, because it's simply not as powerful as as you think it is, I guess, is a way of saying it. It's underwhelming compared to some other cards because it is bad to add a whole bunch of cards to your deck that you don't need to try to power up Perfected Strike. Like, oh, I'll just take 50 cards that take Strike, and then this card's going to deal 100 extra damage when I play it. Yes, that's true, but the problem is you have to draw Perfected Strike. And every time you put a card in your deck, you decrease the chances that you're going to draw Perfected Strike, and you're going to be left with a bunch of strikes. And you're like, well, these strikes aren't actually that great, and I have a lot of them, and I don't have any defense cards, and we have a problem. So it's a card that you can have fun with and experiment with, and it can dominate. Like, I have some early Ironclad runs where I had like 2 or 3 of these, you know, and they just synergize with each other, and you're just blowing things up, and it feels great. But in general, cards that want you to bloat your deck can be dangerous and trap you, like Claw or something with the defect. So you can take this if you're needing damage really badly early in the game, but other than that, I don't find it to be that enticing of a card. For example, just look at my deck. Look how much better Bludgeon is. It's only 1 card that I need to draw. It does not bloat my deck, and for 3 energy, it does 42. Do you know how many strikes I'd have to get Perfected Strike to do 42 damage? I know it would only be 2 energy, but you see the point, right? So it's a decent card, but it's not going to be what we take right here. The only consideration is Sword Boomerang. Sword Boomerang is a card, if I would have kept Flex Potion, that loves a Flex Potion, because it says deal 3 damage to a random enemy 4 times. And what that means is, if I have a bunch of strength, well, if I have a Flex Potion, for example, it adds 5 to every single instance of this. So that means that it now deals 8 damage 4 times. So this goes from doing 12 damage to doing 32 damage, right? So that's a huge jump in power. If you have a bunch of strength relics, you know, you can lift weights or something. You can lift that, you know, throw that kettlebell around to strengthen yourself up, or you have other, you know, demon form or something like that. You're just like getting a bunch of strength. This is great. But if you look at us, we don't have a bunch of extra strength with this character. this will still do a ton of damage, but not as much as it could. And one thing I don't like about Sword Boomerang is you don't get to aim it. So if there's like 3 enemies, sometimes it's not going to hit the enemy that you want. It says a random enemy. It could hit one enemy 4 times and you take it down, or it could spread it out and you're like, oh darn. So this is a very good card if you have strength to support it, but I don't. So in this case, I'm actually not going to take any of these cards. I don't want them. I'm just going to skip. And again, it goes back to just the understanding of a deck building game. It could be so enticing when you see reward. It says rewards with an exclamation point, and you see cards, and you're just like, you want to take a card every time because you think it's a prize that you got. And that's how you start out in this game. But as you develop your skill, you'll begin to understand that every time I take a card, I decrease the chances that I get another good card that I was looking for that I maybe already had. Now, if the card is so good that you don't care or it synergizes perfectly, then yeah, of course, take it. Like, if there was a good card there, I would have taken it, but there wasn't. And I have to also think about the fact that every time I take a card, I'm not drawing but Bludgeon Plus. You know, I'm not drawing my card that I want to crush people with. Impervious becomes harder to find, right? So, I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to skip. All right, here we go. Into a unknown, and remember, it can't be a fight. And it's the wheel. I just talked about the wheel. So this is like, the wheel is ridiculous. It's an event where we're going to play Wheel of Fortune, and we're going to spin a wheel. And there are different outcomes. And remember how I said, like, most of the time, unknowns are safe? Unless it's the wheel. The wheel could do this, which is going to hit us for, a percentage of our health. This lets us remove a card. This is going to put a curse in our deck. This will heal us. This gives us a relic, and this gives us some gold. So let's see what we get. Okay, we got money. All right, so we have 100 gold right now. Okay, and boom, the wheel gives us 200 gold. So that's ridiculous, right? There are several events in this game that just are random. And you want if it goes well for you, you are really happy. And if it doesn't, it's sad. And that is the risk reward whenever you go to an unknown, right? Some people actually don't like the Juzu bracelet because they're like, hey, I want to be able to fight stuff in hallways. You're taking away my option to fight. I mean, like, you have to think about it. Every hallway fight that you get, you're getting gold and you're getting a chance to see a card that may or may not be good, and maybe you can even get a potion. So maybe you want fights and the Juzu bracelet works against you. It just depends, right? All right, now we have a choice. We could swerve to the left and go to a rest site, upgrade some cards, and coast into the champ. Or we could go to a hallway fight, fight an elite, unknown, rest, champ. And for me, I think it's time to talk about our goal for this act. Our goal for this act is to get strong enough to beat the Act 2 boss. And unlike the Act 1 fight, okay? So Act 1 is all about DPS for the most part, just doing enough damage fast enough to win. And as soon as you get into Act 2, things change. You need to start being able to block more substantially. But you also really need to start thinking about your scaling. How can I get stronger over the course of a fight so that I can overpower an enemy like the champ, who is going to progressively make himself stronger, and then halfway through his hit points is going to make himself much stronger. The champ is a fight that you win by outscaling him and not sending him over the edge until you're ready for it. So how do we scale with this fight, with this character, right? Like, what are we doing? What scales with us? Well, what scales with us is the fact that we have Shockwave and we have big hitters like Bludgeon. Now, working against us is Impervious is only a one-use thing. Offering is only a one-use thing. Disarm only will work against one of his phases. Okay? And if we don't play a Ghostly Armor, it goes away. So a lot of our deck falls off. However, we do have Rampage, which has scaling built into it, gets stronger every time we go. And with a deck like this, we don't necessarily have to worry about scaling as much because we can just hit this guy in the face and make him vulnerable and just bap him in the face a few times with Bludgeon, provided we can stay alive long enough. Also helping our scaling is the fact that we have Armaments Plus, so a few times through the deck with this baby, we maybe can upgrade every single card, you know, or most of them. And also, we have our Relics, and we just happen to have 3 potions, and one of them is an Entropic Brew. So we can get a huge burst of power from these potions if we need to. We have our Smoothstone, and we have Karen's Ashes, which will sort of play into it. But for the most part, we're going to be leaning into the fact that we have 4 energy, and we're going to be making our Rampage strong. We can block well, and we have a huge damage card. All right? So that's where we're at. Now, because of that, I still want to get stronger. And I don't think upgrading our cards is going to make us much stronger. Remember, we can't rest at these things, but we don't need to anyway. We have our Eternal Feather to heal, but we're at full health. Or very close to it. So let's fight an elite and get another relic to make ourselves stronger, and maybe see a rare card. Okay, so we're fighting Sneko. Sneko, if you see his eyeball there, it has like a almost like a radioactive symbol on it. That is something you will see in a boss relic called the Sneko Eye, and it does the effect he's going to put on us, which is what he's, except it's a better version for us. So what he's going to do to us is he's going to put a debuff on us that randomizes the cost of the cards in our hand. So it could make a card, for example, like Bludgeon Plus that costs 3, it could make it 0, which is great. But it could also make Offering, which costs 0, cost 3, which is disastrous. So this is a very unpredictable fight because of that. If you have an artifact charge, you can stop him from doing it. But luckily for us, we've got a little thing called Offering. So let's do a bunch of stuff. Great. Okay, so we're going to Metallicize Plus. We got it early. Beautiful. We're going to disarm him to weaken him up. Okay. We're going to Pommel Strike, draw, see what we get. Oh, beautiful. This is the dream. When you get Armaments Plus and you have a full hand, that means every card in our hand... Wow, that's better. I want to keep Ghostly Armor, so I'm going to play it. And then I'm going to Strike Plus the Sneko and Body Slam him for 20. So we had a turn where we hit the guy real hard, right? He's at 75. We know that Bludgeon Plus is in here, as well as Impervious and Shockwave. These are all cards that can benefit from having their cost randomized, right? So, it's very likely, for example, the cost is randomized from 0 to 3, by the way. So, a card can either cost 0, 1, 2, or 3. And what could given the fact that this costs 3, it's 75% of the time it's going to be cheaper than 3. It could cost the same, or it could just go cheaper, right? So actually we have Bash too, so we have a lot of cards that'll probably get cheaper. So this is just beautiful. We did a huge amount of damage, and I don't even think I want to drink a potion, but we'll see. So he's perplexed us, and let's see what happens. Well, look at what happened. His death is what happened. So his perplexing gaze has backfired. We get to bash him and then rampage him and bludgeon him. Because bash is now free, rampage is now free. Ghostly Armor became unplayable because it's now 3 energy to block 11. This fight can go really, really wrong if you get unlucky with the randomization. So you just have to pray that you have enough draw and expensive cards to make this okay. And we do. We just give him this, and then this, and then the guy's dead. Yeah. Easy peasy. Take some gold, add a card. Oh, baby. Metallicize. 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 This is one of those cards where it's like, it's a power that I just love having a bunch of, especially as you get later in the run. It's a slow card, right? Powers are slow in general, and 3 block is not so much. Like, and enemies are going to start being like, I'm going to do, 20 damage to you in 1 turn. And you're like, well, I block for 3 with my power. Yes, you have to establish this, but in a long fight, like against the champ, having a couple metallicize is going to go a long way to helping us stay alive there. It's going to block for just an absolute mountain of damage. Twin Strike, again, this would be good if we had strength, but we really don't. And Iron Wave is just like an okay card that gives you some block and does a little damage, but we don't need it. Metallicize we do. We'll take it gladly. Let's go fight an elite. And we got the Slavers. Alright, so the Slavers is a really... Oh, we drew Armaments Plus. Beautiful. This is a tough fight. This Slavers fight, here's what you need to know. These dudes attack you every time. They're never going to stop attacking. They're just going to keep attacking. So this fight is really checking your ability to do AoE. Or to just single target down and just do a ton of damage really fast. Okay? So, we drew Armaments Plus. This is going to go well. Let's Offering. Bam. And let's go ahead and Armaments Plus and see what we can work with. Alright. So, in general, with the Slavers, you want to take down this guy on the right first. He's the worst of them. He generally does the most damage, and he also can debuff you in 2 ways. He can make you vulnerable, which if all 3 guys are attacking you and get to do 50% extra damage, it can end your run real quick. But he also will throw a net on you. If he nets you, it means that for the turn that you're netted, you can't attack. And so you just have to sit there, and you can't do damage to them. So you better hope that you drew a bunch of block cards, because if you didn't, you're going to be real sad. So this guy's got to go. So we want to focus all our efforts on killing him as quickly as possible. Now, you need to make some considerations. Metallicize Plus, I was just talking about how much I love cards like this. But in this fight, do we have enough time to set this up? Or do we need to move faster? That's something to think about. Now, right now, I'm taking 25, 32 damage, and this guy's going to debuff us as well. 32 damage. That's a lot. Can I block that? I already have 6 block here. This is going to give me a whopping 14 block, and these give us 9. So this would be 20, 29, so that's almost a full block right there, and we've only spent 2 energy. And then we could indeed just play Metallicize to block for full. But another way to block is to just kill one of these guys and not take its damage. So, one thing would be, okay, I know I'm going to play this card. Because now, if I can kill this guy, I'll fully block these 2 dudes. Great. Can I do it? I'm already doing 20 damage. If I bash this guy for 10, he'll be at 36. And then now this body slam will do 30. And I'll have 2 energy left to work with. Okay? And what I can do is just strike plus him to kill him. And I can disarm one of these guys. If I want. Or I can just play Metallicize. And in this case, I think Metallicize actually will just end up healing us for more. However, Disarm will do 3 damage. Okay. I'm going to bash, body slam. Make sure this guy dies. Metallicize. This is fine. It's a little bit safer. I think disarm would have been fine too. Okay, so he put a wound card in our deck, which, fine. Alright. So let's annihilate these guys. I think I'm going to take 3 damage here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bludgeon this guy, and he'll be at 2. And then I'm going to headbutt this dude, get my bludgeon back to kill him next turn. Ghostly Armor will not be played, so it will exhaust, and the ashes will trigger and kill this guy. Do 3 damage to this guy. Our Metallicize will go off and give us 4 block, and he'll hit us for 3. So that's fine with me. We know on the map, just by walking into this fire, we're going to heal for at least 12. If we take 2 cards, we'll actually heal for 15, because we'll have 25 cards at that point. So great. Let's roll. Hit him. Can I have that? Thanks. End turn. Okay. Good night. Ooh, cool. Alright, so we got a Ginger. Ginger is great because it means we can no longer become weakened. So, you know, this means that our damage can never go down. Now, it's not, you know, as good as not being, I believe it's the onion that makes it so you can't get frailed. Or the turnip, rather, but this is still good for us. And we'll take... What card do we get? Oof. Ugh. 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 This is a lot of fun. This is a fun card for us. Twin Strike is not a consideration. Upgraded Iron Wave is fine. You know, it gives us block and does damage. It kind of goes with shield block a little bit, but it's just okay. Burning Pact, on the other hand, because we have Karen's Ashes, I mean, what this card is going to do is say, exhaust a card and draw 2 cards. So if we're in a fight and we're just like, you know what? Like, I never need basic strike, or I never need basic defend, or something like that. We can exhaust it to draw to our better cards and do 3 damage. And so, through the course of the fight, you'll, like, streamline your deck immensely. And so I'll take it. You gotta be careful with it. You don't want to exhaust any cards that you need. Like, on a boss fight, you still need the block. So you don't want to, like, chuck those. But I think it'll be fun for us. And let's see what we get here. Oh, interesting. So we found the old beggar. So this guy is our good buddy, the cleric, and for 75 gold, he's going to let us remove a card. What will we remove from our deck, you say? It's the basic strike. You know, at this point, basic strike is so outclassed. We still need to block, okay? I'm not unhappy when I draw defense cards, but basic strike, like, I would much rather be drawing my bigger attack cards. So I'll do this. I'll give him 75 and chuck a strike. And we're about to heal up. And we can upgrade a card. Now, what we're thinking about is we're going into the boss fight. Alright? So what card is going to be the best to have upgraded for this particular fight? And maybe it's Rampage, because this will make it just get stronger. And if we Burning Pact our deck away and it's only Rampage that we have... if all we have is like Rampages and Shrug It Off or something like that, you know, we will just keep drawing this every single turn and it will become ridiculous. I mean, we wouldn't just have that, but, you know, it's a possibility. Metallicize is also a good one. Shockwave would ruin him even more dramatically. It is 5 turns, isn't it? Yeah, I can't say no to this. On this fight, 5 turns is great. The thing you have to remember is Shockwave is going to exhaust, so we're not going to have it again. Alright, so let's start off. Let's offering. Great. Let's upgrade all of these cards. That feels good. Alright, he wants to do 12 damage. Whatever. Metallicize. Get that going. And let's go ahead and draw some cards. Tremendous. We'll play Rampage right away. Do I want to chuck anything right now? Probably a defend. And, yeah, let's play our other Metallicize. How about that? Seems pretty good. I'm going to keep my disarm. Alright, so he's made us vulnerable and frail, which is really sad. And he wants to do 24 damage to us. So this is why you have cards, or you have a block potion. So we get 8 armor. This will give us 8, so we can get 16. We drink this, we fully block, no problem. I am going to do that. I don't really have to care. I mean, like, do I want to drink this? It's overblocking if I drink this. I only take 8. I'm fine with taking 8. I'm going to save my potion for a situation where I get full value out of it. Let's just hit him in the face with this. Take that. Get out. Okay. And now he wants to attack us again for 18. Let's see how much block we can generate. Actually, not that much. I'm going to Burning Pact this basic defend. Okay, good. We have a few cards here that are not upgraded, so let me do that. And let's see. Let's go ahead and Pommel Strike. Okay. Interesting. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna weaken him right now. We'll take 1. Fine. And everything's upgraded except ghostly armor. So I don't need to headbutt back armaments plus. Maybe Pommel Strike plus. Alright. And here. So this guy is just going to hit us eventually. Sometimes he'll buff himself. Sometimes he'll, you know, try to debuff us. He's debuffing us right now. He loves to keep these things on you, which is really annoying. But to be honest, it's fine. We're going to save this. What we're doing is getting this guy down to 210 health. Once he drops below 210 health, he's going to basically take a turn to buff himself up and become incredibly strong and start doing his execute, which is like his ultimate attack ability, where he's going to do a ridiculous amount of damage. And so having impervious is good. So let's think about this. He's not hitting us. Alright, so our ghostly armor goes away if we don't play it right now, which I'm okay with. Shockwave was buried, huh? We'll keep it, though, for phase 2. And our ginger is going off, which is actually really, really good for us. Okay. So now he's going to make himself... he's going to block and buff himself. Because I drew Bludgeon right now... I can leave him right here. So he wouldn't get insane next turn. Or I can play Rampage and just send him over the edge. But I don't think there's any reason to do that right now. I think I'm just going to pass. I don't want to exhaust any of those. I don't want to get rid of any of those cards. So now he wants to hit us for 18, which is totally fine. We can handle 18, especially considering Frail just dropped off. So let's go ahead and shrug it off. Okay. I'm going to hit him with Bash and then just defend. Okay. Oh, his weaken wore off, so he was actually going to hit us for 24. But that's okay. All right, so now I think it's probably the time for us to move him on. So let's go ahead and play this. The good thing is our vulnerable will wear off. So that's very, very key. And yeah, he's vulnerable, so we can just smack him with that. And pass. And so he buffs himself up, and now he's doing his I'm below half health. How could you do this to me debuff? So I'm going to shrug it off, see what we draw. We drew Rampage, which is great. We'll just hit him with Bash and hit him with Rampage and pass the turn. Now, unfortunately, Impervious went away, but we could redraw it. So here he comes. Full glory. Face my wrath, he says. And this is what happens. He's now going to hit us for 36. How about that? So he's upset. But look what we have. Shockwave. And now he's going to hit us for 26. Right? So we've reduced what he's all about by a ton. I'm going to play Armaments to get Rampage going. And I'm going to hit him with Rampage Plus for a bunch. And I am going to drink my block potion. This overblocks. Oh, no, never mind. No, it doesn't. It exactly blocks. There we go. Bam, bam. So that attack right there, the execute, where he attacks twice, and 3 times when it gets really hard, is so brutal that it'll often end your run if you don't plan for that. So when you fight this guy, you can't just take him down as fast as possible. You gotta wait until you're ready. And now we can disarm him. And he doesn't get to purge the debuff. He just has to deal with it. And guess what we get to do? Look what card's over here. Yeah, let's get Rampage back. That seems good. Let's see, or what do we draw here? Oh. Well, we don't have Body Slam, so it doesn't matter. He wants to do 15. We fully block for that, so let's just go ahead and strike and headbutt. And can I just have this one back? Guy's pretty much dead. I think we draw Bludgeon, and he's vulnerable. Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. This is bad for this guy. Champerino is not happy to be hit by that. And then this. Hasta la vista. Alright. Bunch of money. And some cards. Do. Alright. So. These are funny. These are funny cards. Bludgeon is hilarious. You've seen it in action. We don't need another one. It's so good, but you do not need 2 of these, okay? But this is also not upgraded, so it's just going to be worse. Fiendfire is a card that, I mean, when you compare this with our Ashes, like early in the game, like let's say we draw this, right? With this deck right now, we have Offering bottled. So we play Offering, we have 10 cards, and one of them is Fiendfire. We would exhaust our hand of 9 cards to a target and deal 7 times 9 damage plus 9 times 3, right? So 7 times 9 is 63. 9 times 3 is 27. So you're talking about the fact that I would be doing 90 damage with Fiendfire. That is ridiculous, right? That's great. That's a great first turn. However, as you'll see, once we start getting into Act 3, there are plenty of enemies who will just sneeze or blink at 90 damage. And you'll be like, but that's everything. And they're like, yeah, I'm still here, and I'm going to hit you for 50. What do you think about that? The Giant Head Elite is not impressed by this card. It is a card that, if we play it, it does 90 damage, but then every card that we just exhausted, we don't get to use for the rest of the fight. So, with our deck, like, what 9 cards do I want to not have, right? And you could say basic defense, and yeah, sure, you like don't necessarily want them, but then I just can't block anymore. You know, I play Impervious once and it's gone. And then what am I doing? Just Metallicize and Ghostly Armor? That's not enough. So, this card is a no. It's good. It synergizes with Karen's Ashes, but it's not good enough, and I don't want to exhaust my hand. And I don't even want to play this strategically to, like, do it for just, like, 2 cards or something like that. I don't want that. I don't want this in my deck. Now, Berserk is an interesting one because you play this power for free, but it gives you 2 vulnerable, which means enemies are going to start wailing on you, but you now get an extra energy. Now, if you upgrade it, it's only 1 vulnerable. I personally like this card because extra energy with the Ironclad is good considering how many cards I have that are expensive, right? And I can also just go ahead and take more expensive cards. There are situations where you can't play this, where you don't play this, but it can be a very good card for you, and you can time it once you know the enemy's attack patterns better, to where it's like, you know, for example, next turn they're not attacking, so they're only going to have 1 shot at you with vulnerable, and you can, you know, dance away without paying the price. So I'm going to try this card. I could skip there, though. That's how little I want those cards. Alright, and we're going to check out the chest. And what do we get? Okay. We get a pretty meh set of relics. Empty Cage lets you remove some cards, so you get to streamline. Runic Cube says, whenever you lose hit points, draw a card. Alright? So that's great with our offering, except as we've already talked about, I will have to play a card because I will draw too many cards with it on the first turn with my Centennial Puzzle. And in all honesty, that's one of the only things that I have that's making me lose hit points. I mean, of course, when I take damage from the enemies, I'm going to be losing hit points. Alright, so there's that. But we could also take Tiny House. And however good this might be in drawing cards is, I don't see this being mind-blowing for us. We don't have a lot of cards that hurt us. Like, if you have a deck where it's like, you've got Hemokinesis, you've got all these cards that are, like, hurting you, okay, but I don't. I have 1. And I'm trying not to take damage. especially considering I have this. I do have Eternal, Eternal Feather and Meal Ticket, of course, and my Burning Blood. But I think I'm going to take Tiny House. Tiny House is just okay. We're going to get a potion, which we do have 2 empty slots now. We get 50 gold. We get 5 max HP, which is actually great for us. We obtain a card, and we get to upgrade 1 random card in our deck. So it does like a whole bunch of things, but it's not super impactful. But we'll take it. So what do we get? We just got Rampage Plus upgraded, which... Or, I'm sorry, Rampage got upgraded to Rampage Plus, which, okay, great. That'll be good for some longer fights. We got 50 gold. We got a Duplication Potion, which is actually an insane potion. I mean, this says your next card is played twice, right? So you can do some fun things like that, like, I don't know, I'm going to Bludgeon you twice, or I'm going to Impervious twice, and then Body Slam you, or I'm going to Metallicize Plus twice, or, you know, something like that. Disarm twice. God, that could just make an enemy do nothing. Alright. And then what card do we want to add to our deck from the Tiny House? We're not adding any of these. Alright, these are not good. Warcry is funny because we draw a card and then we put a card from our hand on top of the draw pile. Okay? So all this would be doing for us would be like sort of letting us kind of make a better choice about our hand and triggering our ashes. But even given the fact that it's free, I just don't want this card. I just don't want it in my deck. So I'm gonna skip it. And you might say, well, what's the big deal? Like, it just replaces itself. It does. But there are situations where you don't want to be playing extra cards, and I'm not super thrilled about that, so I'm going to say no thanks. And we're going to close that, and we're going to skip the card reward, and we are going to start Act 3, and we get the Woke Bloke as our boss. So this guy, as the Act 3 boss, doesn't like it if you play powers. He gets stronger if you play powers until you get to his second phase. So you have to be strategic with your power use. Luckily, we do have Berserk now, but we really only have like Metallicize, so we're not power heavy, so we could have seen a lot worse. Now, where do we want to start? I'll tell you where we want to start. I want to start on this path with the 4 unknowns, because I know that they're not going to be fights. I feel like my deck is pretty good, and I want to see what we can get from these randoms. Now, I'll probably fight this elite, take the fire, get our Matryoshka off here, check out the shop, and then roll in. Or we could go this way, but if we get here and we're not happy, we can also bounce and just avoid the elites. Sometimes the Act 3 elites are monstrous, and you want to avoid them, but we should be okay, and we'll start right here. And everyone, this is a fantastic place to end this episode of our Beginner's Guide. We have completed Act 2, and we're rolling along. I hope you found this useful. Please post any comments you have about the game or questions in the comments below, and I'd love to answer them and chat with you about it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care.